Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SF Live. I'm your host, Myrna. Tonight we have a very special guest, a multi-talented, multimedia artist. He is a poet, an author, a filmmaker, a fire dancer, and somebody who ran to the circus when he was of a young age. His name is Chris Sia, and we will show you a very powerful film that he's done. I took a few seconds of it and I thought we got to show the public this film. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Myrna?
Awesome. Well, let's see. Let's talk about you. You are based in San Francisco, and your work has appeared in literary journals, including The Left Curve, Sulphur, No Exit, Mississippi, Mud, Pelican, the Sharon Review, to name a few. Please tell us about them.
Well, my first endeavors as an artist was as a creative writer and as a poet. The journals that you mentioned are literary journals, most of them underground, but a couple university ones as well. Okay. However, I kind of left writing behind when I went to school and discovered dancing, and that's how I got into the performance arts and multimedia.
What's you were saying you're a fire dancer. What does that mean?
I'm a professional fire handler in the sense that here, especially in San Francisco, it's a really well-known art form of dancing with fire. Usually with some kind of apparatus or tools. Sometimes you see the fire spinning on chains or on a martial arts staff. Wow,
that's pretty scary.
Yeah, scary, mysterious, powerful.
Well, how do you train for something like that? I mean,
just like any.
I get burned just in boiling water, so it's hard for me to fathom somebody would actually work with fire to dance with.
Well, safety first, obviously, and just like any other art form, you have to train at it, practice, and rehearse.
Okay, now you're writing you're putting together a manuscript of a poetry book. Could you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's on the back burner right now. It was actually accepted for publication a few years ago.
Right.
But I'm kind of obsessed with creating new work, and so as I started revising it for publication, I realized that I only wanted to publish about a third of it. Okay. And in the meantime, my mentor and author who wrote the introduction for the book passed away. Right. So I was kind of plagued with indecisions about how to go about, still publishing it and stuff. So I've just recently started revisiting it as I'm kind of getting back into writing more and less on stage and more into productions. So.
Right. And this film that we will be looking at, it's called The Litany.
Yes.
And it was the opening show for The Burning Man in 2009.
Yes.
You want to give a little bit of an intro for it before we...
Sure. Well, this film was produced and written by the Armageddon Prevention Team, which is mainly myself and my collaborator, Il Gates. We started it as... we met working on a tour together, and we were asked to put together a video that addressed some political and social issues. Right. And we just didn't have enough time. So after the tour was over, we came home to San Francisco and said, hey, let's make that video that we never got a chance to do. And, at that time, it was at the height of, the second Persian Gulf invasion. So we decided to address war in general. And this is what we came up with. So
you're one of those activist, artist types?
Yeah, I like to think of myself more as an activator because, activist brings up the whole connotation of division, us versus them. Right. And, we're taking a different approach to that.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this. The Litany, powerful.
Men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in time of war. Nor does the human spirit move without great difficulty against all the apathy of conformist thought within one's own bosom and in the surrounding world.
For every drop of blood, let there be an ocean of love.
The film is talking. What is it doing
For
now?
every bomb dropped, let there be a star born.
Right now it's a
For every
short
human
poem that
being
I wrote.
that has been killed at the hands of another,
And it goes into the sequence
let there be
of all the
10,000
geographical
saints
places
born.
where conflicts occurred in the last century or so.
Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, Dhaka, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Saigon, Korea, Philippines, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama, Guyana, Chiapas, Jonestown, Sikkim, Kashmir, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Kathmandu, Chechnya, Cambodia, Somalia, Rwanda, South Africa, Chile, Sudan, Egypt, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan,
There's a lot of death and destruction in this
Ruby Ridge,
film.
Philadelphia, Oklahoma
But we didn't want to
City,
pull any punches.
Waco,
Exactly.
World Trade
There's
Center,
a beautiful images
London,
there. Oh,
Iran,
right.
Iraq.
It starts around World War II up until the present day.
Exactly.
And not forgetting that we've had conflict here in our own country as well. The images of Philadelphia, Oklahoma City, and New York, of course. And this is Mario Savio, who was an activist in the 60s, speaking about how if you want to stop the machine, you have to really lay it down, like this guy here. A very powerful image from Tiananmen Square.
Now, it must have taken you a long time to put these images together.
About 10 days of pulling super long hours.
Right. Now, these artwork, the paintings that I see in the background, are those your creation as well?
Some of them come from people that we collaborate with. Some of them we liberally drew from. History, obviously, as well. Now we're just showing backward images of the images of war and destruction. I love this image of the reverse atomic explosion. And here's where the whole thing shifts into the brighter side.
We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. The rich man can never be what he ought to be until the poor man is what he ought to be. We must speak.
The artist transcends the madness of the world. It's showing us what is possible.
We must speak.
That's from the Holocaust Museum in Florida, and this is a visual image by one of our collaborators, Andrew Jones. That's another one from Andrew Jones.
In the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists.
It's from this amazing film entitled Ashes and Snow.
For every drop of blood, let there be an ocean of love.
Definitely fit the theme of the...
For every bomb dropped, let there be a
ocean.
star born. For every human being that has been killed at the hands of another, let there be 10,000 saints born.
So you did this on your own or with some collaboration?
Yeah, my current collaborator, Il Gates, him and I did the film, and I worked on the music with another collaborator, Eugene Steele. And here's some of the unwitting collaborators to the film.
Now that's incredible work. You must be very proud of that.
I am. I still kind of get the goosebumps when I see it still.
Exactly. I saw it for a few seconds and my God, it just really gets you. So, I mean, how was the reaction of the Burning Man? I could only imagine.
Kind of a quiet hush, you know, after the thing ends, and then applause. Some places where we showed it, people kind of gasped a little bit at the opening graphic imagery of the carnage, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I noticed that watching people, they kind of all started like moving closer together and started holding each other and huddling around, and
Wow.
yeah, definitely brought people together.
Amazing. Now I saw some of your writing, and these is incredible. I love, you know, it when people are able to master the use of the language and come up with beautiful composition. Basically, here's what you said as part of this film. I guess when you're introducing it to people, you say here, enlightenment for all human beings. He claims an end to war without end, a resource-based economy, a global detente as the last of the old tyrants are laid to rest, an abolishment of poverty, exploitation, oppression, and ignorance as the new generation of leaders take office, and new technologies, sustainable and smarter than their progenitors, replace the antiquated and archaic structures that no longer serve us. Wow, that's beautiful. That's powerful.
Oh, thanks.
You thought that all by yourself?
Yeah.
Always.
I like to think we're, you know, working on introducing our own cultural memes into the collective consciousness. So
that's incredible. I couldn't wait to see your poetry, your book of poetry. That's the kind of intensity that you use to put your work together in a book. That's incredible. Okay, now you're working on a project, a multimedia project that will premiere in Hawaii next month.
Yes.
Called the Action Praxis Theory. Okay, what is that all about?
It's a multimedia show with original music accompanied by visual arts that help propel the narrative of the show. And we usually have a theatrical element as well. So it's geared towards an electronic music festival. So you can either dance to it, this really high energy dance music, but it's also something you can just sit back and watch and enjoy the show as well.
Now, you're a disc jockey as well. What is it that you don't do?
Well, I don't really jockey discs anymore, but I do play music off a computer.
Okay, I mean, it's kind of hard to think. Okay, this guy's talking about this really heavy subject matters. Next thing you know, you're cranking the disc in some rave. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, as an artist, I've always felt a responsibility to take these issues and find an appropriate place to address the public. And people trust art. You know, people don't trust the media. People don't trust politicians. Ditto.
Ditto.
But people trust art. You know, it's a heartfelt message. It's honest and truthful, even if it's satire. So.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's why you see comedians like Stewart, right? But
people trust Jon Stewart more than they trust Fox News. That's
exactly.
That's a sign of the times, for sure.
John Daly show. I mean, but the thing is, they do it in a manner that does not offend, because they use joke too. And Johnny who's that guy over there with the long chin?
Oh,
the Tonight Show.
Jay Leno.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he's very good at that too. Very powerful use of comedy to get a message out. I'm not sure if they're doing it consciously, but I mean, certainly if he wants to, bash a certain policy. I mean, when he was talking about Barack Obama traveling through Asia, his opening statement was, well, he's in India and in China, he's checking on our jobs. I mean, he's talking about outsourcing without, if somebody talks about outsourcing, the average individual will say it with such bitterness and anger, but a comedian says it's funny. Yeah,
the absurdity of this system lends to a lot of material for comedy and satire, that's for sure.
I mean, what would you do without politicians, right? I mean, what would comedians do without politicians?
Find new material.
Exactly. Or concentrate with Dancing with the Stars. Do you watch Dancing with the Stars?
I haven't seen Dancing with the Stars, but I'll secretly confess that I'm crazy about the show, So You Think You Can Dance.
You
said it right here on public TV, yeah.
Oh, which one is that one?
It's a dance competition. I think it's on Fox maybe or something.
Oh, okay. Dancing with the Stars. I mean, I think it's more for like the middle-aged people like me.
Oh.
Dancing with the Stars. I'm so mad though. My guy got kicked out. Chris Jericho, the wrestler. I was rooting for him, but I also like this guy Heinz Ward, the MVP of football, and Kirstie Alley. I hope she wins. But anyway, now let's get back to your work, which is incredible. How do you manage to produce all of these bodies of work? I mean, there's a give there. What is it that
Well, I often tell people I make art because I have to.
Right.
That I feel compelled to.
Right.
And that's the main drive. I have a lot of energy, so I channel it all into my art.
Right.
And as an activist, it's the perfect channel for me.
Right. So you've been doing this like since you were a kid. How old were you when you started wordsmithing and dancing and so forth?
I think I started to learn to play the piano when I was about 5 or so.
Oh. Was your mom like a tiger mom? Was she one of those? Your sister is very talented too, right?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, your sister is traveling the country with musicians, right?
Yeah.
Wow. A very musical family?
Yeah, definitely.
That's incredible. So, you're working with my nephew, Sid Gabriel Hubbard. What are you guys cooking right now?
Well, the multimedia show that I was describing earlier, we're taking to Hawaii. It's called Action Praxis Theory. And praxis being the practice of taking your ideas and putting them to action.
Right.
And we're focusing on the good news, actually.
Right.
That there is no Armageddon, there is no apocalypse.
Right.
Don't believe the hype and don't believe the media.
Right.
There's been a lot of focus on the December 21st, 2012 as some like end time doomsday conspiracy.
Right.
But we're focusing that it's going to be a quantum leap in human consciousness.
Now you're talking about a thriving underground cultural artist culture in San Francisco. What is that? I watch movies and I watch television.
Well, it's underground, so I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it above ground.
Well, okay, this is a show, so you can certainly talk about it.
No, underground being that's a little off the the mainstream.
Right. But sooner or later, I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, since it's educational activism, and you're talking about certain messages about the world today and politics and so forth, you cannot just keep that to yourself, right?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. That was in jest. Yeah.
Right.
I'm all about making the underground above ground and taking it to the streets or taking it to the mainstream for sure.
What's the main thing right now? What's the mainstream for the underground sort of cultural movement now?
Well, you asked me to speak for the whole underground movement right
now?
Whatever.
Talk about anything. I mean, I gotta check it out.
Well, I guess, I mean, as we were talking about making the underground the above ground, is that we're trying to not have divisions anymore, not create division. For me, I had a big wake-up call just a couple years ago, just realizing that to adequately face the challenges that we face as a global community, we all have to be on the same page. Right. I mean, just pick up the papers and look at the crises that we face. It seems you can get engulfed in fear just looking at that. Exactly. So, yeah, I had to just wake up one day and decide I had to love Dick Cheney as much as, I love my mother. And that everyone, we want, and like I said, you read it earlier, enlightenment for all human beings, not just my friends. Beautiful words. Okay, we only have like a second left. So, or a minute left. How do people get a hold of you? How do they follow you? They want to be your fan. I'm sure you would like to talk to your fans. Tell them where to go, website. My favorite search engine, Google. You can Google me, Chris Sia. Google. You can find me on many of the social networking sites. Right. Facebook. I have a SoundCloud page for music. Sid and I are starting up a kind of an umbrella website called the11.com. And we'll be placing all of our collective art projects underneath that title as well. Okay. Sounds great. And anyway, so I'm so delighted. And if people want to see this film, have you uploaded it on YouTube? Yeah, it's on YouTube. Okay. Awesome. Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and that's our show for tonight. I'm delighted you've joined us, and I hope to see you again next time. And please let us know, email us if there's talents out there who would like to be featured in our show, especially if they're from the underground cultural movement of San Francisco. It's about time to bring them above ground. We should not be the all-ground movement. Right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.